All right, welcome back, Earthlings. It is another episode drop for Season 3, which means we have another rapid reaction. With you here, Sven from the Thundering Dice Brothers, with my brother, Ian. And we just watched it, so we've had no time to discuss or reflect. This is our discussion and reflection. We'll try and keep it short today. We're bad about that. So without further ado, Ian, go. What do you think?
I am very, very happy with how everything episode 4 turned out to be. I was expecting that you wouldn't get a whole episode of just Rand and Rhuidean. I was kind of expecting that it would be, cut between like him and then maybe like some Perrin or some Nynaeve. So just having Rand going through the columns with a little bit of what happens with Moiraine in the columns in the glass rings was just pure gold.
Yeah, it was so great. They finally did exactly what I wanted them to do. They stuck with an important plot point or a storyline for the entire episode and stuck with it. And we got a lot of cool stuff out of it, aside from the wealth of lore that they dropped on us through the glass columns. A little bit of other stuff as well. We got to hear some of the reasons why you go unclothed. We saw the line of spears. I think that's all the people that didn't make it back from Rhuidean.
Yeah.
That was pretty neat. We got choden and Savannah introduced, two of the baddies in the next few books, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
And we get a really cool fight scene between Aviendha and Lan, which is dope as hell. You get to see, the two types of martial arts going against each other. And I think Lan won that. He disarmed her slightly, which in my book means he came out +1 in the sparring match.
Yeah, he definitely won that. The only thing I didn't like about that scene is it's cut short before Lan can like declare himself the victor, or Aviendha can be like, all right, fine, you are better than me, by the wise one saying like, all right, it's time for you to go into Rhuidean. It's wise one time. Stop playing around with the spears.
Which is dope. That was
that's
a
perfect on the
great
book,
moment. Yeah, it's time to stop playing around with spears, breaking the spears, telling her to nut up. You're a wise one. God bless it.
Yeah, that was absolutely perfect.
But now, out of the way, we've got to talk about the glass columns, because that was the most important part of the season so far, in my opinion, and they got it right. We were not worried, we were curious to see how the showrunner who wrote this episode was going to do with this, and he knocked it out of the park. This is the best episode of season 4, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I would say that this
season
actually
3, sorry,
season 3. Yeah, like I'd actually say that this is the best episode of the whole show. I mean, for multiple reasons. A, it was really well done, like the cinematography and the writing. I mean, definitely copied on the book close enough. There were a few things that were missing, like the Nym and Sakar-en, but like that I can slide with. But like the thing I liked about this episode, like that I think the reason why I think it's the most important is because it has the biggest amount of world building that this show has ever had. You finally get to go back back in time through the Age of Legends, see the Aiel growing, see the struggle, why the Way of the Leaf, like why there's no sword touching and all this type of stuff. So like being able to actually get a tangible sense of the past in a fantasy show is extremely important. And this is the first time in my mind that they really knocked it out of the park. You get a little bit with like Eredal, a little bit with Aemon's story and stuff like that, but it isn't as real as Rand's going through the columns. So having that and being able to see that was definitely proper and worked really well. And of course, and I'm not to throw like shade on Rafe in this respect, but this is like one of these episodes that is almost impossible to fuck up because it's already written so well. So all you really had to do is transcribe from A to B, and he did pretty much that. So 1,000,000% happy, props, thank you, keep doing what you did this episode.
And adapting this to the vision type of storytelling, it probably seems very, very straightforward when you're reading it and you're visualizing in your head, but adapting that so faithfully was really well done. And I really appreciated they used Rand's actor for every single one of these characters, and great makeup.
Yeah, shout out to the makeup department. Like, holy hell.
Yeah, great makeup, even when it's clearly basically him. Like the very end when they're in the Age of Legends and he's accepting Sakar-en, we'll come to that, from the Tamerlane. he looks like a Ken doll version of Rand. You know, he's like super perfect, and his face is very smooth, and it's kind
almost
of weird.
It's actually the way I envision the way Aes Sedai look, ageless.
Yeah.
That scene specifically, he looks ageless. You can't really, I mean, like, he looks young, but you can't necessarily tell how young or how old. He's just kind of there and like almost perfect.
So yeah, Yasha, he really, really knocked out of the park with this was probably the episode where he had to work as an actor the hardest. He has to play his character Rand, and then he plays Rand's father and Rand's great ancestors in multiple different ways in multiple eras. It's really, really well done, and it gives us such a great glimpse into his past and the past of the Aiel. Like Ian said, this was world building that we needed. It gives us the context we need to understand why the Aiel are the way that they are. It'll give us some context going forward as to why Avienda is kind of cold and angry all the time towards Rand.
Yep.
Some of the things that she saw will become more apparent, I assume, later on as the series progresses.
I would hope so. The one thing that I just sort of thought about, and now I'm kind of curious, because like I read the chapter recently, but I'm now in Tanchico, so it's far enough away that my mind is the thing. Does in the very last part of his Rhuidean story, when he's running and when he actually sees the boar in the book, he never sees Miriam in person, does he?
I don't believe so. It's all like
just says
secondhand.
Yeah. Because I was about to say, because I don't remember him after the story being like, wait a minute, I know who that is now. You know, it's later on that you put two and two together for that. Okay, yeah, so I was right.
And I wonder
if that's then going to come in. It'd be like, is Rand like the next time he sees her going to be like,
because now he knows.
I watched you right before you ruined the world.
When you were talking about your dreams of a new source of power, a true power, one that everyone can use, not just Aes Sedai, even Rand's ancestors' family ostensibly could use it. It sounds very grand and awesome and utopian, yeah. But we know it is and the people watching this show now, unless you're not paying attention, you should understand that this is how the War of Power starts, with Moiraine breaking into the Dark One's prison and at some point swearing herself to the Shadow.
And I always assume that happens very, very fast because she wants that power.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, so yeah, okay, so that's an interesting one. Now, but okay, we have to talk about the Sakar-en and not having the Choden call and Kalendor being the equal to the Sakar-en.
Because that's definitely a departure from the books.
A big departure.
And I am interested specifically, so I don't really care too much about Sakar-en and the Choden call necessarily being swapped around a little bit. That's okay. We can limit the number of objects of the one power that are completely overpowered and have the possibility to destroy the world to a few. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've got this orb, which is Sakar-en, which in the books is used by Demon Dread and Taim at the very, very end in the last battle. It's a very powerful sangreal, and it's a male sangreal as far as I know, and it's attuned to Demon Dread, so you can't kill Demon Dread with it.
Yeah.
This one here is obviously attuned to females and is the most powerful, so it is the Choden call stand-in for the women. Now, Kalendor being the stand-in for the male Choden call is where I have a problem, because Kalendor is more than just a one-power Angreal. It's a true power Angreal, and it has fatal flaws and weaknesses built in that allow someone to take over the wielder as he's using it if he's in a circle. So, I don't know if they're going to change those things. If they're just going to sort of make it a blanket, extremely powerful Angreal for men and call it good. Will they mix in all the other stuff? How will that change the final battle? Because it's an important key component to how they switch or subvert the expectations that the Dark One and his minions have. That's obviously a video for another time. But that is one thing that they're going to have to figure out.
Yeah, definitely. I'm slightly concerned about that too, especially considering how the last battle happens, how, Rand needs to have both halves of the true source gloved with the true power to be able to reforge the Dark One's prison. And if you have Kalendor being the be-all, end-all, is he going to be channeling through that to get rid of the taint? What about the potential, as you said, pitfalls between the two women being able to control a man who are circled with him? So like these type of thing, yeah, like this is a little bit of a concern. It's not as much of a concern yet because obviously all this shit happens.
A lot can change, yeah,
down the road, but it is a little weird. But yeah, swapping them is not. Yeah, it's not like the worst thing. I just like the Choden Call because there's really cool little statues that are linked to massive statues on the other side.
Yeah.
You have a whole little subplot where once the crystal lights up, the whole fucking island of trail making kills themselves.
Yep, as the fulfillment of prophecy and the end of illusion, they have to kill themselves, and they're according to their customs, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, one last thing before we finish off, we did see a little bit of Moraine's visions in the ter'angreal, so we know that she's going to see some things that cannot happen. We know that she can't get with Rand in an intimate or emotional, way. They can't be linked as warders and Aes Sedai, or as lovers, or as married couple, or anything like that, because in the book, Moiraine tells us every time she saw a vision where they got together like that, it ended in doom and disaster for the world. And they showed a ton of images at the end, and I think this is very important. It's going to be important, where Lanfear kills Moiraine over and over and over again in different settings and in different ways. And we know one of those things that we didn't see was the one way it could work. The one way where Moiraine dies, ostensibly, and Lanfear is taken out of the picture, at least temporarily, or it works out for the world. So that'll be interesting. A slow drip reveal there. I'd love to know what Avienda sees, but it's a good thing they didn't show it to us specifically, because they don't in the books either. Yeah. Some things need to be
left alone
and need to be sort of like an onion. You got to peel it out, and she has to be the one to come to terms with it first before we can understand what she saw.
Yeah, and in the trailer, with Moraine's voice going over it, says never turning the wheel, something disastrous happens, except the one I die.
Yeah.
So we already know that predestination is set. So they're definitely going to be following that. Now, if it follows the way that happens in the book with Lanfear, that's up. We'll see in time.
I imagine it will a little bit, because we've already seen the twisted redstone ter'angreal in Tar Valon, so we know that those ter'angreals exist. The Aelfin and the Ealfin will become an important part of the story in some way down the line. They have to a little bit.
Matt has to go through one. I mean,
he's got to lose his eye, and he's got to become a badass. He's got to save Jane Farns, or save Moiraine, etc., etc. So that's so far down the road. But the fox head may not be that far down the road. He probably should do that while he's in Ter'angreal, while he's in Tar Valon.
Yeah,
we're getting a little far afield. Oh, that's right. They already missed that opportunity.
Yeah. So they're going to Tanchico with Elaine and not Naive, and Min is going to be tagging along because she saw him getting hung, and now she's going to feel indebted to him. So she's going to try to stop that from happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, but going back, so this episode though, goddamn, super happy. Was really entertaining to watch. It was an unbroken story, which is something that is not used enough in every type of show. Honestly, the jump scenes annoyed the fuck out of me, so it was great. 59 something minutes, just straight columns, basically, no interruptions. Brilliant. I'm very happy.
That's what we needed. We needed a perfect world building episode. Take the time, show us something that's so important to the story, to Rand, to the Aiel, to the culture building, to the world building. They did that, and they did it great. They did it well. They picked 4 or 5 perfect examples out of the columns that he experiences. They show Moiraine clawing his eyes out because he can't come to terms with what his past is. Fantastic episode. It needed to land. It landed well. Rafe, good writing. Directing, fantastic. Makeup, set design, music, all that stuff, 10 out of 10. Hell yeah. Makes me pumped for episode 5.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing I will say, though, before we end this and tell you all to like, comment, and subscribe, please, is when you do look at Rhuidean, before the mist happens, the first instinct I thought was like, what am I back on Tatooine in Star Wars? Because it kind of has a look of like Mos Eisley slightly. You'll never find a more hive of scum and villainy and shit like that. It has that type of vibe to it. I kind of laughed. And then also when you see Rhuidean in the mist, I never imagined seeing the ring itself, like the actual wall around it. I just imagine seeing the spires and the tops of buildings. But that's just like really nitpicky shit.
Yeah, nitpicky stuff aside, and if we wanted to, we could probably find 15 tiny little things that diverged or whatever, but it is an excellent episode. It was probably the truest to the lore that we've seen in all 3 seasons so far. Makes me happy, makes me smile, makes me excited for the rest of the season, and it gives me hope that should a season 4 and beyond be greenlit, we will have something to look forward to that's going to be good, that's going to be true to a good vision of the story, good adaptation. I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too.
And with that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below. Let us know what you thought of the episode. And we will catch you next time on episode 5.
Absolutely. Have a great day, guys.